Hey there, thanks for tuning in to the Nutrition Diva podcast. I'm your host, Monica Reinagel, and with the holidays now just around the corner and all these festive gatherings filling up our schedules, I have noticed a definite surge in marketing for products that claim to lessen the effects or the harms of alcohol. They promise everything from reducing blood alcohol levels more quickly to helping you feel better after a night out. And at this time of year, the idea of being able to party with fewer risks or consequences might seem especially appealing. But how much of this is backed by solid science, and how much of this is just clever marketing? Today, I'm going to give you my assessment of two products that you may have seen popping up in your feed recently, ZBiotic and Sure Shot. ZBiotic is a probiotic liquid that claims to break down acetaldehyde, which is produced when our bodies metabolize alcohol. A buildup of acetaldehyde in the body is linked to some of the unpleasant effects that we might feel after drinking alcohol, such as headache, upset stomach, and so on. So something that breaks it down faster sounds pretty promising, right? Just as a refresher, let's review how alcohol is metabolized in the body. When you consume alcohol, it enters your bloodstream pretty quickly through the lining of your stomach and the small intestine, and it then travels through the bloodstream to the liver, where it's metabolized in a two-step process. First, the alcohol is converted by an enzyme, and that enzyme is called alcohol dehydrogenase, or ADH, into acetaldehyde. And then a second enzyme called aldehyde dehydrogenase, or ALDH, converts acetaldehyde into acetate. If we're only taking in small amounts of alcohol, this whole process works brilliantly, efficiently converting toxic substances into harmless ones, which are then excreted out of the body. But if we drink too much alcohol, or we drink it too quickly, the body can't keep up. And blood alcohol and acetaldehyde levels will remain high, and that can create a variety of toxic effects. And this is where ZBiotic enters the chat. This liquid probiotic contains a strain of bacteria that's been genetically engineered to produce ALDH. That's the enzyme that converts acetaldehyde into acetate. And the idea is that all this extra ALDH will break down any excess acetaldehyde, thereby solving the problem. And the company has conducted research to prove that these bacteria do indeed rapidly break down acetaldehyde, at least in test tubes. And they've also conducted research to show that the bacteria remain viable in the human digestive system. There's just one problem. Although taking this probiotic could reduce the amount of acetaldehyde in your gut, the vast majority of the acetaldehyde that is produced in your system after you drink alcohol isn't in your gut. It's over in your liver, where it is safely quite out of reach of these gut-based probiotic bacteria. Because it's not active in the liver, this probiotic isn't going to significantly reduce the overall amount of acetaldehyde in your system. And that means it's unlikely to protect you from hangovers, or for that matter, from any of the more long-term consequences of alcohol, such as liver damage or the increased risk of certain cancers. Now, the bioengineering that's involved here, programming a bacteria to produce a specific enzyme, is definitely impressive. And I'm sure there is a lot of potential here for some interesting applications. But from my perspective, this particular product misses the mark. It's a little bit like striking a match in the kitchen when the candle that you want to light is out in the dining room. It's the right idea, but it's the wrong location. And it's also important to point out that this product also won't reduce the amount of alcohol in your bloodstream. So it's not going to keep you from becoming intoxicated, and it's not going to speed the removal of alcohol from your system. Now, of course, you will see anecdotal reports from users saying that they feel much better the day after drinking if they take this product first. And in my opinion, that's likely to be largely a placebo effect. Or perhaps using this product somehow also causes them to be a little bit more mindful or moderate about their alcohol consumption. But you know what? At around $10 per shot, that's a pretty expensive placebo. Next up is Sure Shot, which claims to be the world's first rapid alcohol reducer. Now, obviously, the idea of a product that could quickly lower your blood alcohol concentration is quite intriguing. I mean, if we could reduce the number of impaired drivers on the road by handing these things out with the tab, that could potentially do some good. But before we get too excited, I think we need to approach this claim with a healthy amount of skepticism. The product, which costs about $6 a shot, contains a proprietary blend of vitamins, minerals, and botanical ingredients. And many of these ingredients are commonly seen in products that claim to prevent or to cure hangovers or to support overall liver health. Things like milk thistle and dandelion, B vitamins, electrolytes, and acetylcysteine and taurine. It also contains 100 milligrams of caffeine per shot. Now, caffeine, of course, does not make an intoxicated person any more sober. It just makes them more alert. And plus, caffeine can interfere with your sleep, which compounds the negative effect that alcohol has on sleep quality. More to the point, however, none of these ingredients are known to directly impact the speed at which alcohol is metabolized. The rate at which the liver can metabolize alcohol is limited by the availability and the activity of the enzymes we talked about earlier, ADH and ALDH. And up until now, anyway, scientists have not found any way to meaningfully speed this process up. Now, I want to say that just because something hasn't been done before doesn't mean that it cannot be done. Science is full of examples of breakthroughs that once seemed impossible. So while accelerating alcohol metabolism safely seems like a stretch based on our current understanding, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Just as an aside, if you do an internet search for this product, the first page or two of your results are all press releases and articles in financial publications. This struck me as a bit unusual for a health product, and to me it suggests that attracting investors and driving up future share prices might be the company's first priority. But who knows? Maybe they're just trying to raise money in order to conduct more research, which I think would definitely be a good idea. Up until recently, the evidence for this project seems to have consisted mostly of small, questionably controlled trials. I mean, I wasn't there myself, but I'm sort of picturing a bunch of folks doing shots and then blowing into consumer-grade breathalyzers. But now they are promoting a proper double-blind placebo-controlled study in which they say that a double dose of Sure Shot, which, by the way, is a pretty hefty dose of caffeine, reduced peak blood alcohol concentrations, acetaldehyde, and aldehyde dehydrogenase levels compared to placebo. Now, there's not a lot of detail about the actual methodology that they used, nor are they showing much in the way of actual data. And the language that they use to describe the results is a little ambiguous. So when I read that the results or the trends favored Sure Shot, for example, it leads me to wonder whether those results were actually statistically significant or clinically meaningful. And it's also a little perplexing that they claim to have seen reductions in both alcohol and acetaldehyde levels, because speeding up the conversion of ethanol would presumably increase acetaldehyde levels, at least temporarily. And similarly, the subsequent breakdown of acetaldehyde into acetate would likely require increased ALDH activity, not less. Now, these statements might make a lot more sense depending on exactly how, when, and what they measured. But without more of those details, these findings raise at least as many questions as they answer, which, to be fair, is quite typical of early stage research. We also don't know a whole lot about the subjects used in this double-blind study. based on what we do know about alcohol metabolism and how heavy drinking can impact liver function, it's possible that heavy drinkers, who might presumably be a key market for this product, might have really different results than occasional or moderate drinkers. And for that matter, your age and your sex will also probably impact your results due to age and sex-based differences in alcohol metabolism. So until this study's design and results have been thoroughly evaluated by an independent peer review board, which they say is in the process, I think we should proceed cautiously. As I mentioned, though, the marketing push seems to be full steam ahead. And sadly, the sales potential for a product like this will probably not be limited by a lack of evidence. I'm also a little concerned about the potential for a product like this to be misused. I mean, it's not hard to imagine how something billed as a rapid alcohol reducer could actually encourage irresponsible drinking by providing a false sense of security. I think really these products tap into a desire that many of us share, which is to be able to indulge more freely in whatever we enjoy without any downsides. Unfortunately, whether it's a product that claims to clear alcohol out of your system or one that allegedly keeps you from absorbing calories or sugar or carbs or whatever, we're all pretty susceptible to a little wishful thinking, not to mention compelling marketing claims. So, in terms of avoiding the harms of excess alcohol, here are a few tried and true, if not venture capital-backed strategies. Number one, obviously, keeping your alcohol intake within recommended limits is the most effective way to reduce the negative effects. And in general, this means no more than 1 alcoholic beverage per hour and no more than 3 on any given evening. Number two, drinking water between alcoholic beverages can help you pace your intake and also help keep you hydrated. Number three, food can slow alcohol absorption, so avoid drinking on an empty stomach. Number four, be cautious about mixing alcohol with caffeinated products, such as Sure Shot or even Red Bull. Caffeine will not reduce impairment, and it can further interfere with your sleep. And finally, even if you are observing these guidelines, please plan ahead for a safe way to get home if you will be drinking anything at all. Look, my goal here isn't to dampen the holiday cheer, but to help you make informed decisions. Science is ever evolving, and who knows, maybe we will see groundbreaking products that genuinely mitigate alcohol's effects in the future. But in my opinion, the jury is still out on this one. So please celebrate responsibly. Nutrition Diva is a quick and dirty tips podcast. Our team includes Brandon Getchis, Nathan Sems, Davina Tomlin, Holly Hutchings, Morgan Christensen, and Nate Hoops. I'd also like to invite you to check out my other podcast. It's called The Change Academy, and over there we explore the art and science of creating positive behavior change, both in our own lives and in our workplaces and communities. You'll find it on all the major podcast platforms. Just search for Change Academy. That's all for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week.